Discover the surprising and touching truth about how 7 Viking wives transformed after defeat. Emma stepped into the warm embrace of the library, drawn in by the intoxicating perfume of aged paper and autumn leaves. Her heart quickened at the sound of lively conversation. A group of women had gathered, animatedly discussing a newfound connection to their Viking ancestry. Discover the surprising and touching truth about how 7 Viking wives transformed after defeat, one of them proclaimed. A flicker of something curiosity, maybe sparked within Emma. Yet, it quickly extinguished under the weight of her reality. She was a single mother, navigating through life with 2 young children, tirelessly juggling multiple jobs that drained her energy and spirit. Dreams of adventure faded like distant memories, overshadowed by bills and obligations. She glanced at Lily, a recent widow whose smile radiated quiet resilience. Emma knew she couldn't approach them. It felt safer to linger in the background, invisible in a world that often overlooked her, but as the stories unfolded of regret, self-doubt, and suffocating sacrifices, Emma felt a magnetic pull. Sarah lamented the neglect of her artistic talent, while Jennifer bravely shared her struggles against gender bias in a cutthroat corporate environment. Each tale mirrored her own, amplifying the deep ache of longing as they acknowledged the untold struggles faced by women like themselves. Here they were, voicing their truths, while she remained shackled by her fears. Could she, like the Viking women they revered, transform her own defeats into empowerment? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As Emma ruminated on their fierce Viking legacies, inspiration blossomed within her. But just as hope began to take root, a shocking revelation shattered the camaraderie. They discovered a genealogical connection that made them all descended from a warrior clan, champions of resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Visions of brave women who rebuilt their families and communities after defeat stirred something deep within Emma. She felt the weight of their shared lineage and the unspoken questions it raised. What if, like those fierce wives, she could shift her own narrative? As discussions turned toward how to embody that legacy, Emma stood at a crossroads, both excited and paralyzed. The internal tug-of-war intensified: stay in her safe, predictable existence, or embrace the unsettling unknown of pursuing the dreams she sacrificed for her children. Anxiety clawed at her insides, tightening her chest as she wrestled with the knowledge that a job opportunity had just opened up, a position she never thought was within reach. But what if she failed? What if the effort exposed her deepest insecurities, letting everyone see the hollow shell beneath the facade? Just as a wave of determination crashed over her, doubt clung tightly, leaving her breathless and shivering at the precipice. Standing there, the echo of her own hesitations reverberated louder than the voices around her. Could she truly become the woman she dreamt of being? As she walked out of the library that night, the endless possibilities spun through her mind. Yet what loomed larger than any dream was the booming silence of expectancy, waiting for her to take that leap, unsure if she was ready to step into the embrace of her own potential, or retreat into the shadows, where she could hide. The choice, she realized, was hers alone. Each step would redefine not just her life, but the legacy she hoped to leave behind for her children. The following morning, sunlight streamed into Emma's modest kitchen, a glare that pulled her from restless dreams filled with echoes of Viking warriors and tales of triumph. She stood at the counter, pouring herself a cup of coffee, but the steam rising before her felt symbolic of fog she needed to navigate. Today was the day she had decided to delve into the job opportunity that lingered in the back of her mind, yet fear sent icy tendrils through her resolve. As she sipped the coffee, she contemplated her life. 2 small children filled the corners of her heart with love, yet they also served as a constant reminder of her responsibilities, realities that made ambition feel frivolous. Just yesterday, she had stood among those women, their stories igniting a spark of purpose. She felt her heart race, not with the throes of panic, but with the thrill of potential as she tried to envision herself stepping into an unfamiliar office, filled with potential and challenge. But then memories crept and experiences of past failures and insecurities that haunted her. She brushed those thoughts aside. "Do I want to continue being afraid?" she murmured, envisioning the Viking women she had learned about, brave figures overcoming insurmountable odds. With their strength echoing in her mind, she felt a surge of courage and set her cup down, determination fueling her movements. Emma grabbed her computer and began to draft her application. Each keystroke, initially hesitant, began to transform into a battle cry, breaking through the residue of fear that clung stubbornly to her. As she filled in the fields her experiences, her unique perspectives as a mother and a worker, her resilience, the fog of unreality began to lift. She could see a new path emerge from her obscured vision, one that shone brightly in contrast to the monotony of her current existence. Halfway through, she paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The nagging voice of doubt crept back in. What will the others think? The constant demands of your children? What if you can't handle it? Frustrated, she pushed back against those thoughts. No more hiding. Taking a deep breath, she continued writing, incorporating a powerful reflection about her journey, how she had learned to manage chaotic lives and fluctuating emotions, how those experiences uniquely equipped her for the challenges ahead. It felt liberating. Tapping into her creativity, she infused narrative into her application. She was more than just a mother, she was a determined woman reclaiming her identity. Once she hit send, a rush hit her, a mix of relief and exhilaration coursing through her veins. The choice had been made. She had taken a step toward the uncertainty of her aspirations, toward self-actualization that transcended the limitations she had previously set. Though a familiar fear settled in her stomach, nestled against determination, she reminded herself that much like the Viking wives she admired, transformation would not come without facing what lay ahead. But just as she basked in the afterglow of that small victory, her phone buzzed with a message that made her heart drop. It was from her neighbor, asking to borrow sugar, but entangled within came a reminder of the reality surrounding her. Children needed to be picked up, groceries sought, life's inevitable chaos loomed. Responsibilities pushed back fiercely against her newfound ambitions. Standing at the brink between ambition and obligation, she knew the day ahead would be fraught with balancing act, the tightrope walk of hope against reality. As she moved through the chaos of motherhood, doubts whispered more loudly than ever. Would she be able to sustain this newfound bravery? Would she stand strong against the tides of life, unearthing deeper layers of her potential? Each day would come with new struggles, and the journey was only beginning. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Apprehension mixed with determination, she hesitated briefly. Would she face it head-on, or shrink back into the familiar shadows? She chose to move forward. Curiosity piqued. The moment had arrived for yet another challenge. What or who would be waiting on the other side? The door creaked open, and standing before her was an unexpected sight: Rachel, a mother from the neighborhood, juggling a toddler on her hip while clutching a coloring book. "Hey Emma. Can I borrow a crayon?" Taylor 1T let go of the green one. She laughed, the sound light but underscored by a hint of desperation that resonated with Emma's own internal conflicts. As she invited Rachel in, Emma felt the familiar, overwhelming pull of motherhood wrap around her like a well-worn blanket. In this moment, the chaos of her own life was mirrored in Rachel's frantic yet loving attempts to nurture. It also stirred something deep within her, a desire not just to help, but to prove to herself that her ambitions could coexist with her current role as a mother. "Of course. Let me just grab some," Emma replied, moving toward a drawer cluttered with crayons, papers, and other remnants of her children's creativity. The act felt mundane, yet the weight of the application she had submitted loomed large in her mind. As she rummaged, she wondered how Rachel managed to articulate her ambitions amidst all the demands of a young family. "Do you ever feel like you're losing yourself?" Emma asked, hopeful for wisdom amidst her own swirling thoughts. "Every day," Rachel exclaimed, her expression suddenly serious. "But you have to hold on to what you love. I take night classes in photography, and at least once a month, I go on a nature walk alone. It keeps me grounded." Her honesty struck a chord in Emma. Here was a woman juggling similar responsibilities yet still finding a way to assert her individuality, and the stark division between their paths illuminated a fundamental question for Emma: what did she need to reclaim her sense of self fully? The realization hit her like a wave, both thrilling and terrifying. She had already taken a brave step, hitting send on her application, but that alone would not dismantle the walls of self-doubt built over years of neglecting her aspirations. Her heart pounded. Do you think I could really handle a job? I mean, what if it falls apart? What if I can't juggle everything? The questions burst forth, unfiltered and raw. Emma pulled away from the drawer, crayon in hand, her vulnerabilities flaring. That's totally normal. But isn't it scarier to not try? Sometimes you have to be bold and trust that you can find a way. Just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't be ambitious, Rachel reassured her with a gentle nudge. The sheer sincerity in Rachel's voice felt like the wind beneath Emma's wings, a reminder that even in chaotic times, aspirations could still take flight. Emboldened, Emma clenched the crayon tighter, the object small but symbolizing an essential truth. Would she allow herself to embody the Viking women she admired? Resilient warriors in their own right, they had persevered through uncertainty, finding strength through adversity. As Rachel and her child gathered their crayons and waved goodbye, Emma decided to shift her thought process. She would not let fear dictate her path. Rather, she would commit to carving out moments of focus and grace amidst motherhood's demands. Each step forward needed to be fueled by passion, not hindered by guilt. With renewed vigor, she penned a plan in her mind, a method for how she could balance family and ambition without losing herself in the murky waters of obligation. It started with doing small things for herself, asserting where her boundaries would lie, educating herself about her professional interests, and creating a community of support. Yet just as she felt momentum shift, her phone chimed again, an email from the potential employer. Her heart leapt as trepidation clawed at her chest. It was time for a response, but would she face the coming encounter head-on, or falter beneath the expectations she had constructed in her mind? It was a definitive moment. Standing at the crossroads of opportunity and self-doubt, she realized the next step she needed to take would shape her future. Emma looked around her home, the warmth of her children's laughter echoing in the background, and a steely resolve gripped her heart. The moment of truth was upon her. How would she respond, and what awaited on the other side of that email? The cursor blinked on the screen, a silent taunt drawing Emma deeper into her deliberation. Each pulse felt like a countdown, demanding her response as her mind raced. What did she want to say? How could she communicate her potential and eagerness without sounding desperate or inadequate? She visualized the interview, the questions that would be posed, the answers she would deliver, but self-doubt whispered insidiously, what if they could sense her hesitation? What if she stumbled on her first day? Emma shook her head, trying to expel the negativity. She grasped the crayon tightly, reorienting the textured surface between her fingers, feeling the roughness under her skin grounding her momentarily. In that fleeting pause, she recalled the warmth and confidence of Rachel's words, the bold determination to pursue a personal passion. Could Emma find that same conviction within herself? Perhaps she didn't need to have all the answers now, perhaps courage could be an evolving journey, unfolding with each step she dared to take. She took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs before exhaling slowly. Opening the email felt monumental, like peering over the edge of a cliff into an uncertain abyss. Yet, the possibilities below tantalized: new challenges, growth, a piece of her identity reclaiming space. Emma opened the email, reading the carefully worded invitation for an interview next week. The exclamation point at the end felt like an unwarranted cheer, but it also ignited a spark within her. This was real. What should have been thrilling was muddled with fear. It was a small victory, yet holding tight to that small flame of excitement, she accepted the invitation. Her heart thrummed with uncertainty, but anticipation intertwined with it a primal energy that reminded her she was still alive, still capable. As she composed her reply, Emma found herself reflecting deeply on her journey. What if she could carry the essence of those Viking wives who had become more than mere survivors? Inspired by their resolve, she considered how each of them must have faced trial after trial, transforming their despair into resilience. If they could take to the seas with only the stars as their guide, then surely, she could navigate her path ahead. She articulated her thoughts in the email with newfound clarity, infusing her response with authenticity. Thank you so much for the consideration. I look forward to discussing how my background and skills align with the goals of your team. Regards, Emma. It felt like a declaration. It was not just a routine message, it was a commitment to her professional self. After hitting send, she leaned back in her chair, the weight of a decision settled into the fabric of her being. But this moment also carved out a new realization. Acceptance was not merely about earning a job title but rather about reclaiming the narrative of her life, recognizing how ambition and motherhood, two variables she deemed opposing, could coalesce into a single vibrant existence. Suddenly, the chaos of the room, the scattered toys, and the familiar noise of children playing felt like a backdrop for her new ambition, not a deterrent. She envisioned time carved out for learning amidst the laughter, the art of balance slowly emerging from her daily tapestry. As she continued to reflect on her developing identity, the phone chimed again, this time a message from her mother reminding her of the family dinner tomorrow. Emma felt an urgent pull to connect but also to shine in the face of her past. How would she articulate her aspirations and newfound resolve amidst familial expectations? With a mixture of pride and apprehension, she realized that the upcoming dinner was not just a gathering, it was a stage for her transformation, a new platform to voice her ambitions. Emma's heart raced, bracing herself for the confrontation that loomed ahead. How would she face her family, and would they see the new Emma she was beginning to cultivate, or would they question her path? The next chapter of her life was set before her, unexplored and inviting, a world where she could stand tall as both a mother and an aspiring professional. Yet, the emerging tension twisted within her. How would she tell them? What if their reactions stifled her momentum? The dive into this new realm felt closer than ever, yet daunting. And so she waited, steeling herself for the family dinner, her resolve wavering between the thrill of the unknown and the fear of exposing her ambitions. How would she navigate this new terrain without drowning in the expectations and traditions of her past? The day of the family dinner arrived with an unsettling blend of anticipation and dread swirling within Emma. Her reflection in the hallway mirror revealed the shifting layers of her identity: mother, daughter, aspiring professional. Today, she needed to find a way to merge these identities into one convincing narrative. Unlike her usual wardrobe of casual t-shirts and jeans, Emma opted for a crisp blouse paired with dark slacks, the fabric crisp against her skin, signaling a shift toward professionalism. As she brushed her hair, she felt the weight of her choices settle on her shoulders. Would these small changes be enough to convey her transformation, to embody the resolve she had summoned in moments of solitude? In the car, the drive felt longer than usual. The streets, lined with autumn colors, reminded her of the seasons of her life, full of change, shedding leaves of uncertainty to reveal the bare branches of new growth. Each stoplight became a pause, a moment to breathe and prepare for the upcoming storm of conversation around the dinner table. As she entered her parents' home, the familiar sense of her mother's cooking washed over her, a nostalgic embrace she had longed for but now felt somewhat unfamiliar. Laughter bubbled up from the dining room, a sound both inviting and intimidating. Her family's warmth wrapped around her, yet she was conscious of the larger narrative unfolding in her mind: how to assert her ambitions without jeopardizing the comfort of their expectations. Seated at the table, Emma familiarized herself with the faces of the family, each one a mirror reflecting their own dreams, ambitions, and disappointments. It was her turn to contribute to this tapestry, her moment to weave in threads of personal aspirations. "Emma, how has work been?" her father asked, taking a sip of his drink, eyes bright with genuine curiosity. She hesitated, the words swirling in her throat like uncharted waters. This was the nexus of her internal conflict: how to articulate her ambitions without scaling the walls of their perceptions. But as she sat amidst her loved ones, the scars of self-doubt unveiled themselves. Their supportive smiles ignited clarity within her. They were not her adversaries. "Actually, I just had an interview for a position that I feel really passionate about," she began, her voice quaking slightly but growing firmer as she continued. "I think it aligns with skills I've developed over the years, both from my work and my experiences as a mother." The room fell silent, an unexpected moment suspended in time. Emma's pulse quickened, the enormity of her declaration echoing against the walls. Would they respond with enthusiasm, or would curiosity turn into probing questions? Her mother, the stalwart matriarch, broke the silence, a smile breaking across her face. "That's wonderful, Emma. What kind of work will you be doing?" Encouraged, she outlined her goals, the vibrant colors of her ambition splashing against their expectant faces. Each nod of approval, each glimmer of pride in their eyes carved pathways for her confidence to traverse. It was transformative. She was educating them about her dreams just as much as she was advocating for herself. However, amidst the supportive exchange, she sensed a haunting shadow just beneath the surface. Would they still respect her choices if they felt she was prioritizing work over family? What if her ambitions somehow challenged their ideals? The fear flickered like a candle in a drafty room, threatening to extinguish. As the evening wore on, the conversations meandered through playful banter and nostalgic stories. Yet, Emma remained acutely aware of the delicate balance she was treading. She craved to embrace this new identity, the woman who dared to reach for more, but worry tightened its grip with each hearty chuckle that surrounded her. When the dinner finally wound down and laughter faded to soft murmurs, Emma felt the familiar tug of anxiety return. It wasn't just about achieving her professional dreams, it was about how they would navigate the impending challenges. Together as a family. Would they adapt to her new vision for herself? In that pivotal moment, with plates cleared and dessert being served, she knew she could no longer tiptoe around her ambitions. She had discovered this new facet of herself, and to let that light remain dimmed would mean denying not just herself, but also everyone who believed in her. As the conversations shifted gears, Emma steeled herself for what she needed to say next, the heart of her transformation burbling up from within. Yet a figure slipped into her thoughts: Rachel, the vibrant spirit urging her to push the boundaries. Would she heed that unrelenting call? On the edge of breaking through the silence again, she took a breath, ready to confront her fears stripped of their veil. But then, a familiar voice from the corner interrupted, laced with skepticism. "Are you sure you're up for that, Emma? Isn't it a bit too ambitious?" The table turned, the energy shifted. It was the moment of truth. How would she defend not just her ambitions, but her right to them? The tension tightened in her stomach as she locked eyes with her challenger, the voice now a tangible force threatening to pull her under. How this confrontation would unfold would be the true measure of her metamorphosis. Emma met her challenger's gaze, the weight of his skepticism pressing down like a boulder lodged in her throat. The jovial ambience that had enveloped the room flickered, momentarily dimmed by the sudden cessation of laughter. Her pulse surged, doubts swirled around her, and she found herself teetering on a precipice between validation and the fear of dismissal. "Considering my experiences and the growth I've undergone, I believe it is not just ambitious, it's necessary," Emma replied, her voice steady, drawing an invisible line in the sand. She could feel the warmth of her mother's gaze behind her, a reminder that support was within reach should she need it. "I've learned so much from balancing motherhood and my career, but I can do more with the right opportunity." A murmur rippled through the family. Emma's aunt raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced, while her father leaned forward, a frown knitting his brows. Their expressions mirrored the internal conversations she had had 1,000 times before, questioning her readiness. "Doesn't it take time to manage a successful career? What will your children think if you're too busy with work?" The voice continued, the familial tone sharp yet caring. He was not an adversary, merely a well-meaning guardian of tradition. "I respect your concern," Emma said, summoning the courage to articulate the thoughts she had grappled with over the years. "But is it not my right to dream beyond the boundaries that have been set for us? Isn't modeling ambition for my children something I can offer them?" A pause filled the room as she let her words settle. She could see her family wrestling with the implications of her statement. The challenge was not merely about a job, it was an invitation to rethink their perspective on ambition, the roles of women, and the narrative they had all been living. "Emma, we just want what's best for you," her father said carefully, a softness creeping into his voice. "But ambition can sometimes come at a cost." "Ambition doesn't have to cost family," she countered, the fire inside her igniting. "I need to redefine what success means to me," for my own fulfillment. I want my children to see that pursuing what you love is part of living fully, not abandoning your responsibilities. She saw her mother nodding, a spark igniting in her eyes as the tension slowly shifted from the table to the walls woven with the scent of pie cooling in the kitchen. The corner of Emma's mind wondered if this was the moment she'd been waiting for, a chance to shine through the shadows that family expectations had cast upon her. As the conversation began to resume a more tender rhythm, however, she felt a sense of unfinished business lingering in the air. There was still more to say, and the fear of judgment lingered. Could she weave ambition and family into a cohesive narrative? "Can we talk about this after dinner?" her brother asked, his arms crossed defensively, signaling turbulence beneath the calm surface. "I'm curious what you think about the balance." "Honestly, I'd love that," Emma replied, sensing the door opening wider for conversation. "Because grappling with that balance is exactly what this journey is about for me." With that potential alliance forming, Emma felt emboldened. The thoughts swirling in her mind were beginning to take shape, and for each question raised, a possible pathway emerged, a myriad of choices that could reshape her family's perception. Her desire was not only to chase personal dreams, but to transform the very dynamics of their discussions. Dinner wound down, but the anticipation of deeper dialogue hung in the air. Emma knew she was on the brink of something transformative, not just for herself, but for her entire family. As dessert was served, she sensed the groundwork for greater understanding slowly being laid, but a latent fear lurked in her mind. What if this path led to friction? What if pursuing her ambitions forced them to reevaluate their beliefs? Emma glanced at her father, uncertainty flickering across his face. Still, as she feasted on the sweet promise of conversations yet to come, a familiar tension resumed its grip, reminding her that change, while necessary, would not come easily. "Are you sure you're ready for the challenges that come with this choice?" Her brother's skepticism hung in the air like a whisper, setting the stage for a confrontation that lay just ahead. Emma took a measured breath, feeling the temperature of her resolve rise. Slowly, she nodded. "Ready or not, it's time I started finding out." Where this journey would lead, she couldn't yet predict, but the shadows were lifting, and the journey was finally calling her name. The kitchen had turned into a pulsating heart of whispered conversations as dessert was served. Emma savored the slice of chocolate pie in front of her, but the sweetness was overshadowed by the urgency of the coming discussion. The light banter had faded, the family members were holding their breath, waiting for the exchange that would follow dinner. Uncertainty and excitement intermingled in her stomach, making her feel almost nauseous. "Let's talk," her brother urged, breaking the comfortable silence. The earlier conversations had laid the groundwork, but now they needed to dig deep into the soil of their expectations and fears. Emma could feel the probing gaze of her family resting on her, ready to challenge her resolution and purpose. "Okay, so tell us," her brother continued, settling himself across from her. "How do you see this working? You dream big, but what does that really look like?" A knot tightened in Emma's stomach. The question was both fair and daunting. This was what she had wanted, a chance to express her vision, yet the fear of vulnerability clawed at her. Still, she couldn't shy away any longer. The conversation had to flow, unfurling like the blossoming petals of her newfound ambition. "I envision a world where I can be passionate about my career while still being the mother my children need," Emma began cautiously, her voice gaining strength. "For me, it means finding a role that allows flexibility, where I can pursue projects that challenge me professionally that also provides for them. What I want is to inspire my kids, to show them that you can balance your dreams and family. It's not an either-or situation." Her brother chuckled lightly, but it was tinged with doubt. "It sounds great on paper, Em. But in reality, there will be late nights, missed events. What if they don't understand?" "I'll communicate with them. We will navigate through this as a family," Emma affirmed, desperately trying to paint a picture that answered both his concerns and her own. "I want them to know that their mom is living out her dreams, even if it gets tough. Isn't that a lesson worth learning?" The room was quiet again, the weight of her words hanging in the air. She realized she was not just defending her desire, she was advocating for a whole new way of thinking within her family. Yet deep down, a familiar doubt tugged at her. What if her ambitions actually created a rift? "Emma, you might think you're ready, but I'm worried about the implications of this on everyone," her father spoke up, genuine concern coloring his voice. "I'm not saying you can't do it, I just fear how it can affect our family's dynamics, our time together." "Then let me show you. Let it be a collective learning experience," she replied, confident again. "You see me pursuing my ambitions, but I need your understanding. This isn't just about me anymore, it's about restructuring how we view ambition." She sensed the crackling tension shift slightly in her favor. Behind her father's eyes, a flicker of intrigue emerged. Was he beginning to reconsider his traditional views? Emma could feel herself at a pivotal moment, wrestling with the potential success of this conversation. As the pie's rich aroma filled the space, it dawned on her that the act of pursuing her career was analogous to baking. It required patience, trial and error, and perhaps, a willingness to embrace the messiness of the process. "What if your ambitions lead to conflicts we didn't foresee?" her brother pressed. The skepticism was still there, but there were hints of curiosity now too. A shift. "I won't back down from that challenge," she replied firmly. "What matters is that I'm here, willing to be open about the struggles. And I believe together, as a family, we can emerge stronger." Her determination resonated in the room, sparking glimmers of understanding and acceptance. Though the journey ahead was uncertain, she yearned to dismantle the barriers that had held her back for too long. "Maybe," her brother conceded, leaning further in. "It's time to see how this plays out. But no, it won't be easy." With each grain of support building, Emma knew she was stepping into uncharted territory. She was on the cusp of becoming a trailblazer both for herself and her family, but she also sensed an impending storm of uncertainty hovering just beyond the horizon. As the conversation continued, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that her greatest battles were yet to come. Careful navigation through professional development and her family's expectations was going to demand all her resilience. "Are you prepared for the real challenges that lie ahead?" her brother asked, the question hanging heavily in the air. Emma remained silent for a moment, contemplating her response. It wasn't just about the ambition, it was about growing into someone even she didn't know she could be. "Let us find out together. I'm ready for whatever comes next," she declared, her spirit bolstered by the support she hoped to receive. And now, as the dialogue settled into deeper topics, Emma felt an electrifying pull toward her future. The thought ignited a realization: every decision she made henceforth would carry with it a weight of consequence. But for now, she focused on the pursuit of this uncharted aspiration, ready to tackle whatever came next. Would her newfound convictions hold up against external pressures? The walls seemed to close in with each passing moment, reminding her that her journey to reclaiming her identity was just getting started. Emma sat back in her chair, the rich chocolate pie still lingering on her tongue as she reflected on the weight of the discussions just past. Her family, her lifeline, had listened intently, and she sensed a shifting dynamic, a transformation of their understanding slowly taking root. Yet, beneath the surface calm, she felt a swell of turbulence rising within. Her ambitions felt like an unfolding map, but what if the terrain turned out to be treacherous? With the conversation fading into the background, Emma turned introspective. The prospect of pursuing her career ambitions loomed large, intertwining with threads of maternal responsibility. It nagged at her, a persistent itch of anxiety, asking if she truly had the capacity to juggle both worlds seamlessly. In a society that often depicted women as managing every role perfectly, could she become that role model she so desperately wanted to be for her children? "Well, I'll have to figure it out," she murmured softly to herself, absent-mindedly tracing her finger over the now empty plate. The thought of attempting to balance late nights on projects with school plays started to form into a tangled web of potential failure. What if her kids felt neglected? Or worse, what if they saw her ambition as a betrayal? The room was filled with intermittent chatter and laughter, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her mind. Emma noticed her brother shooting her hopeful glances, cradling a newfound respect for her courage, and she felt a flicker of light breaking through her spiraling insecurities. "Let us plan a time to sit down every week," she suggested, more resolute than she felt. We can discuss how I'm balancing work and family. It'll be like a check-in. No secrets. Just honesty. Her brother nodded, his smile faint but genuine. A gesture of support that felt grounding amidst her overload of thoughts. Perhaps this mutual commitment could create a dialogue that would fortify her resolve, acting as a bridge to navigate the inevitable challenges ahead. Trying to push aside her anxieties, Emma turned her attention to her children, who were gleefully playing in the other room. Their laughter was infectious, but every giggle also rekindled the haunting question: would they see her as the mother they needed? As the evening wore on and dinner was finished, she felt a quiet surge of determination. It was no longer about seeking others' approval. This was about owning her choices and crafting a new narrative, one where personal development interwove gracefully with familial responsibilities. Yet, she couldn't ignore the trembling fear of being deemed selfish for wanting more. That night, Emma pulled out a notepad, determined to set her intentions. What did she truly want? Not just professionally, but as a mother, as a woman seeking to redefine her identity. The question fell from her lips like a spell: if I could design my life, what would it look like? The lines filled the page quickly: the freedom to create, the space to innovate. A career that would not only fuel her passion but also ultimately benefit her family. Inspired by visions of late-night collaborations, she jotted down workshops next to children's activities and emphasized flexibility in both. Hours slipped by unnoticed as she created a roadmap, a vision board of sorts, framing her dreams in tangible terms. Yet, with every new dream laid out, a shadow crept across her thoughts. What if the plan crumbled? What if her ambitions became the very fabric that tore her family apart? Emma could feel the weight of those doubts, the torrent of what-ifs pushing against her optimism. But she wasn't merely paralyzed by fear, she was poised on the edge of transformation. It was no longer the dreams themselves but the pursuit of them that would illustrate her newfound identity and growth. Resting her pen against her cheek, she paused to question her readiness. Are you bold enough to risk it all? She did not know if she was prepared to confront failure, nor what she might discover in the pursuit. But as resolve poured from her heart, she simply did not want to be defined by fear any longer. The lingering thoughts chased her into a restless sleep, where dreams of success mingled with shadows of doubt. Each moment of clarity was met with apprehension, a continual dance of hope and fear. When morning arrived, Emma woke with new resolve pushing against her uncertainties. She was ready to step into the unknown, ready to embrace the chaos that came with risk. Yet, in the back of her mind, a question loomed larger than the rest: was she truly prepared to change everything? With breakfast being prepared, she could hear her children's playful laughter. The warmth enveloped her like a promise that behind every doubt lay the potential for something extraordinary. And as she whisked the eggs, determination bubbling in her chest, she silently vowed to confront not just her ambitions, but the deeper fears haunting her. What would tomorrow hold? The decisions she would make would soon ripple through her family, but deeper still a confrontation was brewing, an encounter with her true self. Emma couldn't help but feel that perhaps her transformation was just beginning. Yet it was a journey that demanded far more than courage. It required the embrace of vulnerability and a confrontation with the original fears that had held her back. What awaited her on that path of discovery? She could hardly wait to find out. As the sun peeked through the kitchen window, illuminating the scattered toys and half-finished breakfast plates, Emma felt a sudden rush of clarity. Today was not just another day, it was a fresh beginning. She completed her morning routine with a newfound vigor. With each task, she infused purpose behind her actions, focusing on the intentions she had laid out the night before. After getting the children settled with their activities, she stepped into her makeshift home office, a corner of the living room that had been her refuge for brainstorming. Emma took a moment to survey the space, feeling a swell of pride in her progress. This was the physical manifestation of her ambitions: the desk piled with notes, sketches of ideas, and the glowing computer screen waiting for her thoughts to flow into action. "All right, let us see what you've got," she whispered to herself, determination threaded into her voice. She began organizing her vision board. Each element marked a step towards the life she envisioned, a life that beautifully exemplified both her professional ambitions and family commitments. She hastily drafted a list of workshops she wanted to lead, integrating her passion for creativity with practical, educational components for children. Suddenly, her mind sparked alive with possibilities. Could a weekend art class that included her children be the bridge she sought? A way to blend both worlds into something tangible. As she penned down her ideas, excitement surged beneath the weight of her previous fears, but the joy was fleeting, replaced quickly by a creeping uncertainty. Memories edged in self-doubt whispered reminders of past failures. What if her workshops flopped? What if they weren't the grand idea she hoped? She pushed the thoughts deeper, forcing herself to refocus. Each stroke of her pen needed to move her forward, not backward. Determined not to derail her momentum, Emma decided to share her visions with her brother during their weekly meeting. Opening up her ambitions to someone close felt like a test, a way to invite scrutiny and support simultaneously. She couldn't just hold herself accountable, she needed someone to challenge her thoughts and encourage her to dig deeper. As she paced the living room, rehearsing her pitch, the cacophony of her children's laughter swirled around her, bringing warmth. Their unrestrained joy grounded her, reminding her of what truly mattered. They needed to see her pursue her dreams, they needed to witness their mother embracing her passion so they could learn the value of following one's heart. Yet, just as clarity bathed her vision, the shadows from within snuck back, challenging her newfound resolve. Emma confronted the notion of failure head-on. What did she fear most? Disappointment? Rejection? Or perhaps the guilt of risking her family's sense of stability for her dreams? Each question nudged her until finally, one specific revelation bubbled to the surface. It wasn't just about risking dreams, it was about putting herself out there, exposing her vulnerabilities. Sweat beaded on the back of her neck as those realizations twisted within her. How could her family respect her ambitions if they never witnessed her struggles? If they never encountered a moment of vulnerability, how could she model resilience? In that moment, Emma made a choice not just to reflect but to act. Gathering her courage, she grabbed her phone and began recording a short video. "Here's the start of my journey," she declared into the lens, her heart racing. "I will be sharing my struggles and successes as I build something that matters to me." Embedding her raw aspirations into that video felt like an unveiling, a commitment to herself and her future. When she hit send, a mixture of fear and exhilaration cascaded through her. She had stepped into the arena, unearthing a boldness that had long remained dormant. As sunlight streamed through the window, bridging the chaotic world of family and the calm of her ambitions, Emma could feel the shift. She understood now that the journey would be tumultuous, stretching far beyond her control, but that was precisely why it was essential. With her heart pounding in sync with the ambitious drum only she could hear, Emma sat back down to draft what she hoped would be her first workshop. Yet, even as anticipation surged through her, one undeniable thought loomed: how would she handle the inevitable backlash of putting herself out there when she faced those who may not understand? The door to her growth awaited her push, and the reflections of that final push emerged. Who would she become through this journey of self-definition? The answer felt tantalizingly close, yet so far away. All she needed now was the resolve to see it through. Would she have the grit to continue when the path darkened? Emma awoke with the early rays of sunlight illuminating her bedroom, an invigorating glow fueling her determination. Today was pivotal. It was time to embrace her journey fully. She moved with purpose, bringing her children into the morning routine with laughter and playful energy that echoed through the house. Their joy was a gentle reminder of her aspirations merging with her responsibilities, neither of which she was willing to compromise. As the day unfolded, the nagging doubts that once stifled her ambition began to fade. She felt empowered by the lessons she had gleaned from her past struggles and the conversations she had shared with her family. They were no longer just fragments of her narrative, instead, they were stepping stones towards her new identity. Emma spent the morning reviewing potential workshop ideas, infusing creativity and educational concepts with her personal touch. Each session she envisioned was a fusion of art and connection, designed not just for personal fulfillment but also for children to explore their creativity alongside their parents. This was powerful an initiative that could reshape her family's perspective on ambition and model a new identity for her children. With her plan taking shape, Emma set out to create promotional materials. As she designed colorful flyers and engaging social media posts, her confidence swelled. She was not merely reclaiming her dreams, she was actively constructing a new narrative. Her workshops would weave her passion for art with the shared joy of motherhood, fostering an environment where both dreams and responsibilities could coexist harmoniously. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, Emma received an unexpected message from her neighbor, an invitation to share her workshop ideas at the next neighborhood gathering. She hesitated, the familiar chill of self-doubt creeping in. What if they dismissed her ambitions? But with a deep breath, she reminded herself of the Viking women's legacy, the strength they discovered after battles, both external and internal. When the evening arrived, Emma stood at the entrance of her home, her heart racing. As neighbors began to fill the room, she felt the familiar warmth of community, yet was acutely aware of the forthcoming crucible, the moment of vulnerability that could either empower or derail her. She took a deep breath, anchoring herself in the resolve she had nurtured over the past few weeks. As the gathering progressed, laughter and chatter enveloped her, but Emma couldn't shake the urgency to share her vision. Her heart raced, a blend of excitement and anxiety, as she finally made her way to the center of the room. The conversations gradually quieted, all eyes turning towards her expectantly. "I want to share something that's very close to my heart," Emma began, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. In that moment, she saw the faces of her family in the crowd, faces she loved and who had ignited her courage. "I've been working on a workshop initiative aimed at fostering creativity in both children and parents. It's about finding balance in life and teaching our kids that pursuing dreams is important." As she spoke, she noticed the subtle shifts in their expressions, curiosity mingled with support. She poured her energy into articulating her vision, sharing how her aspirations aligned with motherhood, and how they could foster a rising generation of confident dreamers. The conversation flowed into a vibrant exchange, her neighbors expressing interest and even volunteering to assist in the upcoming workshops. Emma felt her heart swell, not just from external validation, but from the internal transformation she experienced. This was the moment she had longed for. Her ambitions were shared, no longer burdened by fear but buoyed by collective support. By the end of the evening, as laughter and conversations filled her home, she realized something profound. She had navigated not just her fears, but also a deeper understanding of how intertwining dreams with familial responsibilities could carve paths for growth, acceptance, and fulfillment. Each supportive nod from her friends was a reminder that she wasn't simply chasing her dreams, she was redefining the conversations around ambition and motherhood. Emma returned to her family, bursting with excitement. "You wouldn't believe the response. They loved my ideas and even want to help." Her voice held a triumphant ring, underscoring her evolution from doubt to confident advocate. Her family gathered around her, their expressions reflecting a newfound respect and understanding. They had witnessed her transformation, and the initial skepticism began to dissolve into support. Later that evening, as Emma tucked her children into bed, a wave of peace enveloped her. On her bedside table lay a notebook filled with ideas and dreams, tangible manifestations of her journey. She had achieved not just personal milestones, but a stronger connection with those she loved, transforming their relationships through the lens of shared understanding and aspirations. Emma realized her growth was not the absence of fear but embracing it. She had conquered her doubts and emerged resilient, ready to navigate the uncharted waters of self-discovery and ambition. This was her legacy, defined not just by success, but by the courage to pursue her truth in a world that so often imposed limitations. As she flicked off the light and settled into bed, Emma's heart thudded with a new rhythm, the song of fulfillment. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but she was ready. She had risen, transformed, and embraced the fierce legacy of the Viking wives who inspired her, ready to navigate whatever came next with confidence and grace. Now is the time for you to join Emma on her transformative journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm that truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this empowering ending, and let the world know how change inspires you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. It could spark the inspiration they've been waiting for. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.